Okay, everybody. Right now, I have Dr. Ernest Simela on the line with us. I don't know if you can see him because of the glare, but here he is. Dr. Simela, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now,
Having me.
yeah, well, we want to get right down to it. We want to know why this affecting our community at a more disproportionate rate than the other communities out here.
But I don't think it is that it is affecting the community in disproportionate numbers as it is that it is causing a more difficult situation for the community because of the underlying conditions. So in other words, the virus itself does not discriminate. It affects everybody. However, when it finds somebody, then it thrives. And it becomes very difficult for that individual to control the disease or to recover from the disease.
Okay, so underlying issues is
Exactly. Then when you go from there to extend this thing to say, why do we have these underlying conditions in these disproportionate amounts, it becomes a much harder and more difficult issue to deal with. That is historic systemic disparities in healthcare systems.
so everything that Donald Trump has done to get rid of Obamacare has helped this epidemic actually partnered with it.
Exactly. What it has done is that now that the disproportional distribution of healthcare system in this country has become even more obvious. The minority communities don't have access to the very good systems that other people have. To give you, if you look at Manhattan, on First Avenue, from 14th Street to 68th Street, you have Beth Israel Hospital, you have Cabrini, you have Bellevue, you have New York University Hospital, you have Sloan Kettering, and you have New York Hospital, joint disease hospitals in that short 54 block section. But if you go to Harlem, from 110th Street to 168th Street, you basically only have Harlem Hospital. So access to healthcare is very, very different in the minority communities compared to the other communities.
So you're saying not only if people who live in the city they have food deserts, but they have a medical desert as well.
Exactly.
All right. Now we know that traditionally African Americans have a certain amount of discourse with the medical profession. They don't trust the medical profession, especially men. That's why it seems like a lot of black men are being impacted. They say this is killing men at a higher rate than women. Um, what would you tell the people who don't trust the medical system right now? What would you tell the African American community that just say, hey, this is an experiment? The conspiracy theorists, hey, this is gonna put implants in our bodies. They want to give us they want to give us the germ. They want to give us all of this stuff. What would you say to those people who are the conspiracy theorists about what we need to do moving forward in that black community?
I would say to them the best thing you can do for yourself is arm yourself with knowledge. Uh, Read as much as you can, listen as much as you can. And once you have the basic knowledge of what it is that you're dealing with, then you can begin to say, okay, what is theory and what is not theory? What is conspiracy? What is not conspiracy? It is not a good idea to rely upon conspiracy theories if you do not have the basic information on what it is that you're doing. For example, One of the things that, in my experience, I've been doing this medicine for more than 40 years, and I've done a lot of my work in the minority communities. One of the things that I have seen is that people don't trust the flu vaccine. Um, some of them have a good reason because it does cause allergies sometimes and side effects. But a lot of people simply say the flu vaccine is a conspiracy uh, to do things to the black community, such as causing infertility and all other things like that. And some people even think that the vaccines that are sent to the minority communities are vaccines that have ill effects to the community, which is not quite right. I don't think you can imagine that the distribution center, wherever it is, Atlanta, or wherever it is, would specifically designate packages to go to the minority communities. Because when we give the vaccines, we don't discriminate whether you're black, Hispanic, white, or whatever. We give the vaccines.
Okay.
So we don't look at the vaccine and say this is a vaccine specifically designed for the black community. That is just not true.
Okay. Now tell our viewers where you're from, because I want them to know that you're an expert on not only a doctor, but Dr. Ernest Simela, you took care of my kids, Jameer, you took care of Minra, and we talked about vaccinations. But tell our people where you are from and why you have an understanding of pandemics and how to manage them.
I am originally from Zimbabwe, which is in Southern Africa. Some people may know it as Southern Rhodesia because that's what it was called before independence. And since independence is called Zimbabwe. That is a country just north of South Africa. So I grew up in Africa, and when I was growing up, we had no access to doctors, to the Western medicines. We dealt with the African medicines, and I really did not see a doctor myself until I was probably about 18 years old.
Wow.
In all those years, my parents used the herbs that we have, and they did a pretty good job. It's unfortunate that we have not done enough research to find out exactly what those herbs have, what those roots have, but they definitely have got some medicinal. And so my background is not just I went to school in this country, but my background has got a lot to do with how I view certain things. Um, I have been practicing medicine here, but I spend a lot of time. I go home practically every year, maybe twice a year, and I've never left my country in terms of being in contact with the people. So, for example, many of the methods that should be used, that are being used, are exactly the same methods that are used in Africa. For example, let's take Ebola, for example. There were three things that helped to contain Ebola. One was isolation, which is what stay at home really means. The second was contact tracing, which is once people were identified as having the disease, then you go back and you try to find out where these people have been, who they have been in contact with. And then the third thing was these people and helping to isolate them. You can imagine that back home, people did not have the medicines to treat them some of these diseases, but because they practiced those three things effectively, Ebola was contained fairly quickly.
Wow. So part of America's failure, what you're saying right now, is that the citizens are not quarantining properly. They're not isolating. Is that true?
Yes. What is happening is that people have not taken this thing as seriously as they should have. And because of that, especially young people, right from the beginning, we say, oh, this thing is affecting the older generation, the older people, 70, 80, 90 years old.
Right.
So that people felt that, well, I am not in that category. And so cover your sneeze, cover your cough. They did not practice this as much as they should have. If we had done that, and I think we are doing, I think the more we do that, the better it's going to be for all of us.
Okay. So we've got that out there.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
I really want to emphasize this thing in our minority communities where people sometimes take it easy about this thing. Because otherwise, a lot of people are going to die needlessly because they are not. I just touched my face, which I shouldn't do. A lot of people don't take this thing very seriously. They still go to the supermarkets. They still go to the places where they shouldn't go. If you can contain it, stay at home, avoid contact with people that are not feeling well, and call your doctor and talk to your doctor and see what the symptoms you have are. And if they seem to be symptoms that relate to the coronavirus, stay at home or contact your doctor and find out exactly what it is that you need to do. If you need testing, there are centers where you can test. I work at the Roosevelt Healthcare Center. We have been doing testing there. And among the methods that we are using in there now, as the workers, when you come in, you don't go into the building until you have answered several questions, until the nurse has taken your temperature, and they give you a mask. So by the time you get into the building, you have been screened already. And that is part of that isolation thing to try and prevent people from getting this disease. By the way, one other thing that I wanted to say from the beginning was that this disease spreads through the droplets, through the air, as opposed to just the touching. Touching is part of it, but a lot of it spreads through the air, through contact with people. Your sneeze, your cough. So if we could cover all those things, we might be able to get this disease under control.
How do you feel? I know we got to bring this up. Trump is doing a decent job now, but you know when Ebola broke out, I know they shut the airports down immediately from those countries. And here, when it broke out, they already traced it that they let all of the European flights brought it in.
Exactly. That's part of what that isolation was all about. That isolation was crucial. In other words, the disease, if you look back during the Obama time when the Ebola broke out, the Obama government actually sent people to West Africa.
I know. We talked during then.
Yeah. So that helped to keep the disease away from the American shores. As opposed to allowing it to come into the country and then try to contain it once it's in the country, especially after it got into the communities. That made it very difficult to contain.
Wow. So I know that you don't do these type of predictions, but if we keep on following the procedures, school is not going to come back this year at all. We already know that. Could you tell us about what happens if we don't quarantine and that second wave hits us in September that they're talking about? Because I know as soon as the embassy called me, they told me there was going to be a second wave come September if people did not do what you said. Quarantine themselves.
My biggest fear is that there are a lot of people walking around who have the coronavirus and they're spreading it around without knowing. That is my biggest fear. The large number of people that may have the disease but don't know about it, which is where the testing becomes a big factor.
Okay.
Because we don't test as many people as we should. We don't know who is carrying it. And so even when these numbers come down, the first wave of the numbers come down, we are going to have a large number of people that are carrying the virus that don't know about it. And that is where that second wave is going to come into the picture. And the other thing is that we don't really know whether once people have had the disease, they develop enough immunity, and if they do, for how long. So people may actually become reinfected even after they've had the virus before. But the key thing is testing. We don't know who is carrying the virus. If we knew who was carrying the virus, we would isolate them, quarantine them until they cleared the virus. And end of that 14-day quarantine time, maybe people were being tested to make sure that they are no longer carrying the virus. It would be very helpful.
Well, since you bring up testing, apparently all of the government wants to do is give the test to first responders first. They want to give it to the doctors, the nurses, the police, the firemen. They want to give it to all of the special people, but they don't want to give the testing to the people who are in the hospitals. They don't want to give it the testing to the people in the nursing homes. They don't want to give the testing to the garbage man. They don't want to give the testing to the blue collar guys. What's the problem? What's up with that?
The problem is that if you look back at how this testing thing was developed and how it was rolled out, we had a lot of problems with the testing. And so even to this day, we don't. I remember in our clinic, the first time that they gave us the test kits, they came to my office and gave me 5 of those test kits. And imagine that how many people we see per day. And if I have 5 kids to do the testing, you could only test so many people. So that is where the selection process came into the picture. We did not have enough tests to test everyone.
Okay.
And so because of that, there is still this thing. We still don't have enough testing to go around. So the first responders are important because they cannot go out there carrying the virus and take care of people and spread this disease to those people. That would not be a good thing to do. So they are really the people that need to be tested first. I don't believe it is because there's a preference for them. It is because it is just the most important thing to do to make sure that the workers are not transmitting the disease to their patients. And you can imagine, I mean, I feel, I'm glad I don't work in the emergency room right now. You can imagine the emergency medical people, the EMTs, going out there to a call and not having a clue what that person has. And then just they have no choice but to deal with those people. These are the first line of defense. So these people really need to be protected. They need to be tested to make sure they are not carrying the disease to their patients.
Okay, so it's not a conspiracy. It's not a something to destroy black people. This wasn't. This is not biological warfare. This is not 5G. This is not the UFOs and Loch Ness monster and Bigfoot and Dracula.
No. It is none of those things. Let me tell you, this thing. Like I said, I've been practicing medicine for more than 40 years. This is the worst disease I have seen. And people need to really take it very seriously. It is a disease that is in the communities everywhere in this country, and it is disproportionately killing the minorities. A large part of that is because of the systemic differences in the healthcare system, which is something that we really need to address very seriously. And I hope it is a wake-up call for all of us in the minority communities to make sure that we get up tomorrow and make sure that our healthcare system is up to par in our communities. And the one way that we can do this is to go out and vote for people that will take care of our interests.
Who are you going to vote for this coming election? You want to tell us? Who are you endorsing?
I am going to vote for the person that I know is going to take care of my needs and is going to make sure that the minorities have the healthcare, access to the healthcare that they need. Everybody should have access to healthcare. Everybody should have access to the insurance programs that are out there. And that brings back the Obamacare, and that was intended to try and mitigate this problem of the disparities in healthcare. If we don't vote correctly again, we are going to have a problem.
Now, okay, I put you on the spot, little politics in there. Okay, so we talked about the disparities. We talked about what the precautions. What about this thing about sanitizing everybody's home? What do you recommend on a daily basis should they use to sanitize and what they should be sanitizing in their homes? And I feel kind of silly when I go shopping. I go in the backyard. I got a pot with soap and water, and I wash all of the stuff down that I bring to the supermarket. Am I crazy, or should I still continue to do that?
You are not crazy at all. We should be sanitizing everything that we have around. This virus, we don't know exactly how long it lives on these surfaces, but we do know that in surfaces like the metal surfaces, the doorknobs, the countertops, and so on, it can live for days. So it is really very important that you get up in the morning and cleanse all the surfaces that you touch. Wash your hands, soap and water for at least 20 seconds each time, and make sure that whatever you are touching is something that is clean. So that is a very, very important thing, the hygiene, uh, the cleansing. You yourself, you are a young man, you yourself may be able to withstand the onslaught of this virus, but once you are carrying it, you're going to take it to grandma, you're going to take it to grandpa, who may have diabetes, who may have heart disease, and they will not be able to resist it as much as you do as a young person. So that is one thing that they emphasize in the minority communities. We have these diseases in the minority communities for many reasons. The main one being failure to access healthcare. We don't have that. If I were to do this thing, I would emphasize what we call disease management. In other words, if we have people that are trained to deal with asthma, for example, that are trained to deal with diabetes, that are trained to deal with hypertension. If in our healthcare system we had these people dealing with our grandmothers, our grandparents in the minority communities on a one-to-one basis, every day, every week, get in touch with grandma, make sure that they're taking their medicines, make sure they know the side effects. They don't stop taking the medicines because the side effects are bothering them, but understand those side effects. Nowadays, when we have the technology like we are doing now, it would be very easy to really have people that are talking to people in the minority communities on a one-to-one basis through the telephone, through the video conferencing and that kind of stuff. That would help go a long way towards helping to alleviate the disparities in healthcare.
And telemedicine is being used right now, so I think we need to get them involved with that telemedicine, because everybody got a telephone, right?
Exactly. Telemedicine is really an excellent tool that would help to alleviate that disparity in healthcare. If we could get the powers that be to understand that by training specific people to deal with specific diseases, particularly, as I say, we look at diabetes, we look at high blood pressure, look at cardiac heart diseases, look at diabetes. Diabetes is a killer in many communities. But if we could stay on top of each and every individual that has that disease, make sure that they understand what it is that they need to eat, why they need to take their medicines, keep this thing under control. If we could do that, as I said, telemedicine would be an excellent tool to get to people today. I've been doing quite a bit of the telehealth from our clinic, and it's just really great because people don't have to get out. They can still stay isolated in their homes, and you can get in touch with your doctor that way.
I want to ask you this question before we close out. Now, if they develop a vaccine for this thing, vaccines are made from actually a piece of the virus. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't want to catch it, and I don't want to get the vaccine. So I'll be wearing a mask until till Christmas. I'll be wearing masks and gloves till Christmas. But if they come up with a vaccine, do you think that we should take the vaccine?
Yes, we should. Let's sort of explain what the vaccines are. Most of the vaccines are not live viruses. So you don't catch the disease because you got the vaccine. Most of the viruses, you put it correctly, are developed from some part of the germ that you're trying to control. So it is not as if I'm going to take this live virus and put it in your body. That's not how it works. There are live viruses like the mumps, the measles, and the rubellas, and those kinds of the chicken poxes that are live viruses. But the majority of the viral vaccines are developed not from the live virus itself. So you're not injecting a live virus. Nobody's going to catch the disease from the injection of the vaccine.
Okay.
What is injected is something that is going to make your body develop the immunity to the disease.
Now,
I'll definitely encourage people to take the vaccine once we have a vaccine for this coronavirus, because and let me tell you, Andre, it is one of the scariest things I have seen in my lifetime.
What makes it so scary? The transmission, the way that it destroys the heart and lungs. What's so scary about it, in your opinion?
What is scary about it is the way it attacks the lungs. Because once you can't breathe, you really can't live very well if you can't breathe. So the way it attacks the lung and the rapid nature of the development of these symptoms from the lung, and which is why it is killing so many people so quickly. It is because it just is something we don't have a tool that we can shoot this thing and kill it. It is not like a bacteria that I can say I'm going to give you antibiotics and kill the bacteria and you're feeling better in 7 to 10 days. We don't have that. But once it gets into the system, it just ravages the lung, particularly the other parts of the body. But the main area that is affected is the lung. It is transmitted in the air. You don't see it. It's different from many other diseases where they are transmitted through the blood. If you don't touch somebody's blood, you don't get that person's blood into your system, you're okay. This thing is in the air. Wow. You're breathing it. That's why we're wearing the masks and stuff like that. That we're saying, cover your cough, cover your sneeze, and stay put in your house. Because when you go out there and you're walking in a path where somebody just sneezed, you could breathe that thing into your lungs. And It is very deadly. It is very deadly. And I hope if people don't take away any message from this, that they take away that this is a deadly disease. We need to listen to the quarantine, the isolation, the stay-at-home orders, and those kinds to cover your face with the mask and stuff like that. We can get through it. But if we don't, it's going to kill a lot of us.
Well, I want to thank you for giving us your Saturday morning time to come here on live stream. And um, people who want to get testing, who are not, just a regular person who are not getting symptoms, because now they want you to have a fever. They want you to have shortness of breath. They want you, it seems like they're like, if you're not half dead, don't call the doctor. So what would you say to people who want to get tested, but they're telling them not to? Lie? Should they lie?
I would say call your doctor, call the clinic close to you, and find out. Because I think now the testing system is going to be more available, and I think a lot of people will be able to be tested. But call your doctor, call your healthcare center, call the Department of Health, and then find out where you can get the testing and what the situation is. We have this drive-through testing now. We have different ways of doing it. It's still not adequate, but it is better, and I think you can find a place where you can get tested.
All right, man.
The Roosevelt Healthcare Center, which is on 380 Nassau Road, has been doing some testing.
So they call you, they call the health center. Who do they call to do that?
Call the health center and get a doctor that can advise.
Okay. Well, Dr. Simela, I want to thank you for coming on. And I will tell his people, listen, guys, our next broadcast, we're going to have Sadiq Y from the Embassy of Sierra Leone to let you know what really is going on with this pandemic. Peace.
No, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And I hope that the message that we have tried to convey is a message that people will take seriously.
All right.
Okay.